Hey YouTube, welcome back to the show. In this video, we're talking about the front three for Liverpool: Firmino, Salah, and Mane. I'm of the opinion that those three are declining. But don't worry, Liverpool fans, you've got Shavar again defending them, and he basically says that they're as good as the season where you won the title. Well, it remains to be seen. If you agree, please comment, like, share, subscribe, and all those good things. And yeah, enjoy the video. As they have been in previous seasons, is decreasing because I believe it's a case of anything in this world, any asset has it's like a car. It has diminishing returns. It's as the asset loses value, it loses performance. I believe it's the same with footballers. I believe they can't up their game. It'll keep going down. Having said that, at the age of 33 or 34, 35, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, they probably have some of the best seasons of their lives. Some footballers can get better as they get older, but I don't believe those three are
Jamie
getting
Vardy's
better.
another one
Jamie Vardy, very good example. Wayne Rooney, I think he's a good example, but he
of
adapted
what
his
you're.
game.
Yeah, he just
Um,
tanked.
it was kind of like that. Then I think when he moved into midfield and he played for Everton, took a little bit of it there, and then
Yep,
anyway.
gone.
But my thing is, I think those three are trending downwards. Just to to talk, if you talk about the stock market, um, probably a worst comparison ever. But anyway, they are, to me, the ability is trending downwards. What do you think about that?
I think it's a bit harsh, but I don't think it's entirely untrue. Um, Look, Salah still scored a bucket load of goals last season, and that was because he was the one who was afforded the most freedom out of the three. Bobby is always going to be what Bobby is. I think he having the fans back will help him the most out of everyone.
Does Bobby
Um,
still have that ability to be that deep lying playmaker? And I know Football Manager, and Football Manager has this role in the game called deep lying playmaker, where
mhm.
it is what it says. It's a player who is pushes deep into the opponent's halves and looks to play the ball to the people around him as opposed to scoring himself. Is he still as effective at doing that?
Okay, so there's two questions there. Can he still do it? Yes, 100%. Is he still effective? I don't think so. But I don't think that's because of him. I think that managers have kind of just figured him out now. And that's also why our attack looks a little bit blunt because that first season when we had all three of them, and we
Mm-hmm.
had Roma in the semi-final. Those defenders just didn't know what was going on. Like the midfielder didn't know whether to track him. The defenders didn't know whether to push up. At one stage, the fullbacks were in trying to track Mane and Salah, and the centre backs pushed into midfield trying to track Bobby. Um, and that's how we beat them. I think he's been figured out. I mean, it's the Premier League; everyone gets figured out. But it doesn't mean he's ineffective. Like some of the touches he takes is still ridiculous. He's probably the best player in the league at getting out of a sticky situation. Um, it's just they know, okay, if Bobby's dropping deep, we know to just watch over our shoulder because Salah's gonna make a cheeky run, or Mane is gonna try to
So
swap positions. Or
speaking of being found out, as part of my theory of them that three becoming less effective, I also agree with what you've said about them being found out. Do you not think that the rest of the teams in the league kind of know what to expect when they come up with Liverpool? Not that not that Norwich knew the other day, but but I mean, like, I suppose we'll find out when they go up against Burnley. I mean, Burnley have been here long enough in this league. Sometimes I think they've been in this league too long. Um, but I mean, do you not think a typical team in the Premier League kind of knows how Liverpool's going to come at you now?
I think that's a problem Thiago was meant to solve before we had to play him as the six. That's
It's
why he was
insane.
brought in.
Always forget about Thiago. I forget you guys have Thiago half the time because he's half the player that he used to be. But I know he had injuries and that sort of thing. But
So
yeah,
so again, people make that mistake because he played a lot of last season out of position. They think he's not the same player. But when we played centre backs at centre back and we had Fabinho in midfield, Thiago was running the show. And that first game against Chelsea, he came on at halftime and just absolutely dictated. Um, that's what I want to see more of this season, and that could bring new life because the responsibility of creation now doesn't sit as heavy on Bobby's shoulders. We can bring Jota on earlier, who's a little bit of an unknown. Um, Salah's always a quality player. Is always going to get a million goals.
and
He
then
just
tell
he
me
knows
about.
how to score.
I agree with Salah. I agree Salah is still elite. Salah still knows how to find the back of the net. I think he proved that
You're
on
gonna
on
ask about
Saturday.
Mane.
Tell me about Mane, because to me,
I think,
Mane
yeah.
has always been a good player. He's never been a great player. He's never been the player I think Liverpool fans think he is. I always believe his final decision making leaves a lot to be desired. Um, but I say that, then again, he'll still end up with 20 plus goals a season.
Mhm.
But will he do that
Yeah,
again this season?
it's he's a very hot on your sleeve instinctual player. If he has to think about what he's doing, it doesn't work out. If he just has to respond to what's going on around him, it generally does work out. His instincts are better than his decision making. But I
Interesting.
think he's also the one of the front three that rely the most on his physicality. He's the one that tracks back the most. So I think age is gonna hit him the hardest, and he had a horrendous season last year. Um,
By his
by
standards,
by his look,
I
he still
agree.
had a decent season by like general Premier League standards, but the drop off was significant. Um, in most
So
games, it was basically a case of if Salah doesn't score, where's our goals gonna come from? And thankfully,
okay,
Salah did score.
so that's the
Bobby
thing.
wasn't
So that's the
scoring.
thing.
Jota was injured. It was yeah.
That's I hear you, but that's my thing. I see Mane as the weakest link in that front three, personally. I've always thought Mane is the weakest link. It's even in, I don't, you can go back in my fantasy records. I've hardly ever had Mane in my fantasy team. I don't watch this play and have much confidence in him. Yes, he's proved me wrong a lot of times. He's scored some crackers of goals, but I've never looked at Mane and thought, this guy's a world beater. He worked in that system, especially when you guys won the league. Can't deny that. But for me, he's the weak link in that system. Do you agree with that? If you had to say who's the weakest player out of those three,
It's a tough one because there's an argument for all three of them being the weakest, even Salah. Um, they just work so well as a trio that it's also a thing of ego. Like none of them have a big ego about them. Yes, Salah's a goal scorer, so he wants to score the goals, but it's not like I'm Zlatan, I'm the man, or I'm Ronaldo, I'm the man, or even Messi has a bit of it. It's just they kind of all believe that they're on a similar level, so they all give each other the same type of respect. Um, I know
so
there's that
you're
incident of
not answering my question.
yeah, it's you can't pick one of the three because your argument is Mane that's the weakest. I could argue that Salah is the weakest. I could argue that Bobby is the weakest. I could argue that Salah is the strongest. Um, it just it's not a
Okay,
it's not a fair
give me.
comparison.
All right, let me ask it. Let me ask it differently then.
Sorry.
And you play FIFA.
Yes.
You play FIFA. You know
Yes.
about player ratings, right?
Yep.
In the season where Liverpool won the league a couple of seasons ago, let's say Salah. Firmino and Sane had a 90 rating,
Right.
right? Are they still a 90 rated front three now?
I would say only Salah is. Bobby probably still has the talent and the ability, and I don't think he's lost anything. But he's been figured out, so he's not as effective as he was. And yeah, Mane has tailed off a
So
little bit.
so if Salah is still a 90, what number is Firmino? What number is Salah? As Mane?
Yeah, I don't like putting numbers to it, but I would give Bobby an 86. I would give Mane an 85. So
It's
yeah,
not.
Mane
It's
is.
not about the number. It's not about the number. The number.
It's
It could
about
have been
the
out of
estimation,
10.
right?
Exactly. It
Yeah,
could have been out
yeah,
of
yeah,
10. It could have been out of whatever. It's just. It's
yeah.
just. It's sort of to try and prove what I'm saying about the
That
drop
yeah,
off.
Mane is the. So he's definitely dropped off the most.
I think you've given them. I think they. I mean, if I was doing that same type of scoring, I would probably drop Salah down from the 90 to maybe an 85. I'd drop Firmino
Whoa.
down to an 80, and I'd drop Mane probably down to a 75, 76. But that's just me. So just to